Hi, and welcome back to the Miami Real Estate Podcast. I'm Omar Windt, Communications Executive here at Surveyor Real Estate. Joining me in the studio today on this perfect Miami sunny Thursday morning is Isaac Kodsi, the developer of Arbor Residences in Coconut Grove. Isaac, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, happy to have you here. Today, we're going to have a little chat about Arbor. We're going to talk about revitalizing real estate and Coconut Grove, the neighborhood that is so exciting and near and dear to all of our hearts. So without further ado, let's get right into it. You have an interesting journey because you are a real estate developer that is transitioned from law into developing, right? So tell us a little bit about what inspired that transition.
Actually, it's pretty easy story. So my father was a developer here in Florida. Started in 1978. Moved down to South Florida in 1988. So he's been developing. He was developing down here since then. My brother Dan Kodsi, if you're aware of it, he's a big developer or a developer here in Miami. He's finished Paramount World Center, and now he's working on a few other projects, the Legacy and a few other projects. So development has always been in our blood. My uncles are all developers here, all through Florida. Some of my cousins have become developers. So it was a very family-oriented business, right, since the beginning. In my particular situation, when I started my career, my dad asked me to become a lawyer. He said, "You know what? Every good real estate family needs a lawyer."
Of course.
So that's what happened. So I became a lawyer. I mean, I studied obviously and became a lawyer. And the goal right from the beginning was really for me to be a lawyer and practice for a certain amount of years, build my practice, get to work with other developers, other clients, but eventually to transition to development itself. And that's what really happened. So I probably started working in early 90s. I don't want to share my my age now. So I worked I practiced law, built a law firm a little bit for about 8 to 10 years, and then slowly started transitioning. Probably in the early 2000s, I started transitioning into development. And again, small projects, doing the small townhome communities, working on luxury single family homes. Sort of stayed in that sort of
Sure.
arena. Through all of that transition, if you guys were around, the Great Recession of 2008 obviously hit us. And that actually gave me a lot of interesting opportunities because there was a lot of distress in the market, which obviously provided opportunity. But what it really did, I really noticed was that with my legal career and my legal background, that navigating through those situations was more than just the real estate or the financial aspects, but also the emotional aspect, right? It takes a lot of toll to go through those kind of waves or distress, right? It puts you in a bad place. It's just hard to get out of it. And so it really leaned into my personality and to my character and what I'm sort of good at, right?
Sure.
So the legal background was a big help for me in problem solving, right? In understanding how to analyze situations, and then through logic or logistics, sort of come up with a plan and an action plan to work it out. So that's sort of where my transition or how my career really has evolved.
You started developing in the early 2000s, you said, right? Then
Right.
we went through the recession of '08. So let's fast forward to Arbor Residences, which how did you identify the property and sort of what inspired you to take on that particular challenge, if you will?
Very fortuitous opportunity. So first of all, I personally live in Coconut Grove.
Hmm.
I live about 5 minutes away from the project. So one of the location was very big in here. So when that was opportunity did come and present itself to me, and that I knew it was 5 minutes from my house, I really wanted to take advantage of that. So that's on a very personal level, right?
Sure.
The business level was I actually knew some of the former partners in the
Hmm.
project, and when they ran into financial difficulties, they were just looking for an exit. They just they couldn't maneuver the project,
Sure.
and therefore it gave me the opportunity. I had again the opportunity or the privilege of knowing the lender through other relations. So being able to speak to the lender speaking to the developer, sort of recognizing what the problems were, and then really coming with a plan of how to buy it. So when I sort of got the okay from everybody, the green light from the lender that I could come in and acquire it, the developer was obviously consented in the acquisition. I went ahead and made my move.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've got some experience in sort of like reviving a stalled or
Yes.
challenged projects. Talk to me about some of the strategies. What's the decision making like, and sort of how do you know if it's the right move for you?
Well, again, so the first thing was really to see the project itself. So the project, again, is on solid ground, right? Both, both physically and metaphorically, right? So the project is in a great location. It was a great product. It's well built, and again, it was really the problem was financial, right? It wasn't so much a bad construction or a bad design. I have seen things where some projects were just they're not salvageable because it's just the design was poor or the building was, or the construction was bad, which was going to create more problems. Here, this project did not possess any of that, right? This was really just I'll call it a paper problem, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know it's money, but I meant so, and then obviously it's mushroomed into a legal problem, but it was really just a paper problem. Um, so right from the beginning, I sat down and be honest with you, I was smoking a cigar, sitting back and really focusing on this project and like how to attack it, right? How to, you know, provide the right response or the right answer for the project itself, right? For the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get to maximize the building? And I don't mean from a profit standpoint. I mean from contributing to the market, right? Contributing to Coconut Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Not bringing a project that had a dark cloud over it, like oh, it went through all these problems, or
Right.
all of these. I wanted to eliminate all those issues, and the answer was really pretty straightforward that this one was just follow the path it was on, right? Like I said, it didn't have the wrong path. It just got caught between clearly the pandemic was a
Mm-hmm.
big, big, big issue over there.
Yeah.
And then honestly, right behind it was just the ability to get material and the logistics at the time that
Of
we were running
course.
through. And that's really the problems that it ran into. Um, so honestly, it was just to keep everybody on track, keep everybody on board. And as of today, I could tell you that we've kept 95% of all the subcontractors, the general contractor, the architects, interior designers. They are all back on the project. Nobody was replaced, and that's probably the best way to maintain the initial vision of the project and to continue through fruition.
Excellent. And you picked it up in, I believe it was November 2023. I think I read in a
Yeah,
real
and
deal.
so the actual project was acquired in November of 22. And when I say acquired, we purchased the loan. The loan was what the first thing was to be purchased.
Right.
So at the time that we purchased the property was in foreclosure. The lender started foreclosure. Uh, Many subcontractors had filed claim of liens. There were several $1 million of liens on the property. There was a group of buyers, if not
Mm-hmm.
almost all the buyers, were all preparing. Well, some had already started filing lawsuits, right?
Sure.
For the deposits and for breach of contract and all, all of those legal rights. So it took us probably about 6 to 9 months to clean up all of that, right? So we went through, again, acquiring the loan, work,
Right.
sitting down and dealing with the buyers, working with all the any permits. We had to sort of revive all the permits again,
Right.
and then dealing with all the claim of liens. So we went through all of those steps and stuff. So that's why we bought it, like I said, in late, I think whatever, late October, early November.
Sure.
And when we were finally cleaned everything up and we were able to dismiss the lawsuit and dismiss the foreclosure action, which again, I don't remember the exact date, but I think it was like the summer of 23.
Sure.
And then that's when we were now ready to move the project forward. At that time, we went back and started revising all the condo docs, updating them because coincidentally, between when the project started to when I stepped in, I forgot the name of the project. Sorry, the one in Surfside, the project that went
Oh,
down.
Champlain?
Yeah,
Champlain
Champlain
Towers?
went down. So what happened was a lot of laws changed and were
Right.
enacted and codes.
Right.
So the condo docs had to be revised and updated to the new laws, and we went through that process. So when we were finally ready for sales, obviously I hired Cervera. No,
Right.
I hired Cervera, and we were ready. And that's when the deed got recorded properly because now we cleaned up the title, we cleaned up all the legal work, and we were ready now to proceed with the project.
So quite a few steps there involved in
Yes.
in getting to that reset. I don't want to say finish line because you're essentially restarting, but it's amazing all the legwork that goes into that. So you mentioned, which is admirable, paying off all the contractors, subcontractors, keeping most of them, reimbursing the buyers, right?
Yes.
How was that challenge like for you dealing with the buyers? So you reimburse them, but then the idea is hopefully they want to stay, move forward with the project. But what is that sort of like when you're in that position?
Well, again, that night I was smoking my cigar. I did sit down and I thought about the buyers, and the stress that they were under, right? And thinking like, hey, they put money down to buy something. Many of them had already, were waiting to be, move in within a period of time. We're ready
Sure.
to move in, and I looked at this and I said, I have two choices. One is to, legally go through down the legal avenue,
Mm-hmm.
and which I felt was just wrong for everybody, right? It didn't serve the project well. It didn't serve the buyers at all. And so I really made a very clear decision at that moment, was to reimburse the buyers 100 cents on the dollar, right? Not to, I wasn't looking to, to put them under, there already were enough stress under them.
Yeah.
Why add more stress, right? So my goal was to create certainty for the buyers and to reimburse them as fast as I could, um, and to take away that sort of uncertainty for them. That was probably my most important thing here to do, right? And I felt that was really karmic, right? That I really looked at the project and I'm like, why would I want to hurt somebody to benefit from that, right?
Sure.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't, there's nothing right about that statement, right? From a moral level. And like I said, I really focused on the project itself, right? I really wanted the project to have the right essence, right? And you want a
Yeah.
positive essence, right?
Right.
So to me, that was the number one priority, and that was the first thing we did, right? Right after the acquisition of the loan, and resolving some things with the former developer and the former partners. Then I'll say the second thing was addressing the buyers,
Sure.
and we attacked it very fast. Counsel, our lawyers reached out to all the lawyers that were representing buyers, and we told them without any hesitation, hey, send us the amount of deposits you sent, and we will send you back your money. Provide, sign releases, and we're off. And I think it took us about maybe 3 or 4 months to process all of those buyers. And the goal was to return all the money to the buyers first.
Mm-hmm.
We did give them also an opportunity to come back and buy.
Sure.
Okay, clearly, unfortunately, from their perspective, at the new prices, which was not what they had. But listen,
Right.
you can only do so much right out there,
Of
right? So,
course.
so and they had the opportunity to come back to buy. And most of them did not, for a plethora of reasons. One,
Sure.
timing for them. Two, cost. Obviously, the price went up, and a lot of them just moved on. Right? I mean, they got stuck. They got stuck in uncertainty, and they went and found something else to buy. Right?
Sure.
But they had the opportunity, right? And
Yeah.
and the best part was that they had their money in their pocket. I didn't want to hold their money hostage to make a deal. I said, "Here's your money back, and we'll come back to you in a few months when we're ready to sell. And if you're ready to buy, you're the first ones." And we did. We prior to listing the property on the market, or even allowing Cervera to list the property,
Mm-hmm.
I went first to all the buyers first. They had the first crack at it.
Right.
They can try to buy their unit, and that's what we did first. And after that time expired, then we opened it up to the market itself.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why we always say, especially in new construction, it's important to work with a reputable developer, one you trust, that will sort of make decisions like this and is
Right.
out for a positive experience for all. Obviously, we want to make money, but doing it the right way. Speaking of revitalization, I feel like I remember eras of Coconut Grove, if you will. It's always been beautiful. It's
Yep.
always been that big hug, as we say, in terms of like the feeling of the neighborhood.
Yep.
But it's had its ebbs and flows in terms of maybe the destination, if you will. I think living there has probably always been awesome.
Right.
But Coco Walk and like the restaurants and things like that. Right now, it's super hot. Walk me through though, sort of like what you've seen in Coconut Grove over the years, and sort of how we got back to this point where post pandemic, it's I think arguably one of the hottest destinations in the city.
Miami as a whole is growing
Hmm.
constantly, right? We all know that. Anybody here in real estate knows that. And everything in Miami is going to become cyclical, right? Meaning that at one time it was Miami Beach and South Beach was the hot spot. And then over time, Wynwood in the late early 2000s, Wynwood started coming out. And today it's obviously in the last 20 years, it's transformed. And then you've got Midtown and Design District. And the reason I'm bringing all these locations that these were all non-existent, right?
Right.
So those were bigger opportunities. Coconut Grove has been around for over 150 years, right? Coconut Grove is one of the oldest communities, I think, in the
I
city
think
of
it might be,
Miami.
yeah, Miami's oldest
Right.
neighborhood.
Yeah, the house I live in Miami was built by John Peacock himself, right? So
Wow.
I live in a house that was built in 1910.
Wow.
So, I really appreciate today the history of Miami in where I live, and understanding that, we're just here temporarily, but the city will always be here, right? Coconut Grove will always be here. Coconut Grove was hot in the early 90s, and when Coconut Walk was first built. And that area has always, like you said, built up. And then as other markets started developing and getting saturated, everybody came back to Coconut Grove. But it had that village center,
Right.
right? And what's really cool about Coconut Grove's center is that it's really authentic. It's real. It's been there for 100 years, some of those buildings, right? Where we have areas like Midtown or downtown Doral, beautiful, but again, just recently built, right?
Sure.
And they're perfect, right? The streets are gridded, everything is, perfect right angles. Coconut Grove is far from right angles. Everything is
Right.
twisted, everything is convoluted, but that's the beauty of it, right? The,
Yeah.
the perfection is the imperfection of Coconut Grove. And that's what people gravitate to that. So that's number one. Number two is, let's be honest, the pandemic brought a new market to Miami, and that
Mm-hmm.
was truly a high-end, affluent market.
Yeah.
When someone like a Ken Griffin puts out their statement of Miami is the Wall Street of the South,
Yeah.
hey, people are going to wake up, right? So the people that are now moving to Miami, people have transplanted to Miami, are a much more affluent market or
Yep.
affluent buyer.
Sure.
So they were going to tap the certain markets, right? They're going to hit the Miami beaches, the Coconut Groves, the Coral Gables. These become the hot markets. Uh, and probably lastly is that again, some of the best schools in the country
Yeah.
are sitting in Coconut Grove.
Got Ransom
Ransom and
Everglades.
Everglades and Carrollton, which again, my kids went to, so I appreciate that. So that's why Coconut Grove has gone through that resurgence. And probably lastly, listen, to get to downtown from Coconut Grove is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you want to be close to the center of town, or really downtown, if you want to be able to get to the airport, or, go anywhere, Coconut Grove is completely central,
Yeah.
right? So those are the basic factors. From there, listen, you got some of the top developers building in Coconut Grove, right? You got George Perez, you got David Martin, you got Hugo Colombo. I mean, so you bring in great product to the area. So it's a confluence of things that happen all at the same time. Even the Cobb family that owns and redid Cocoa Walk.
Yeah.
You know, everyone had a portion of that vision
Mm-hmm.
working theoretically working together, and that confluence of everything just brought back the resurgence,
Yeah.
right?
I think Coco Walk has been a huge part of it, and like post pandemic, it's just that new identity that it has. It's amazing when you go in there. The
Absolutely.
from the restaurants to the shops, the hotels, everything. How does Arbor fit into that residential offering? And how do you see it compared to other new developments in the Grove?
So what's really cool about Arbor is really its location, right? So it's nestled. If you didn't know where it is, you wouldn't even be able to see it, right? It's really hidden behind trees, sort of nestled between behind Cocoa Walk and Coconut Elementary School. So it doesn't like, it's not a big tower, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like, oh my God, let me look at the Twisted Sisters.
45
45
units, right?
units. It's only a 5, 6 story building. And what's nice about it is that it just it fits in the neighborhood, right? It's like you might have assumed that it's been there forever, right? It's not something glaring out there. It doesn't hit you like, I'm not saying bad or
Sure.
good, but it's not like there's a Mr. C Residences, obviously a beautiful, beautiful building right on Bayshore Drive that everybody can see, right? This is sort of in the back, boutique-y, sort of cool chic, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you can get luxury without all of that fluff of being in a big building or something
Right.
like that, right? So to me, it's an automatic neighbor, right? It's already enmeshed as a neighbor, right? It doesn't have to really introduce itself to anybody because it's just there. It's just, it's part of the flow, right? That's what sort of back what I was saying to you, but the karma or the vibe of
Mm-hmm.
it, I really wanted to keep it positive and
Yeah.
cool, that nobody would walk by that building and say, "Oh, that's that building," that kind of
Right.
a story. So more like, "Man, when did this building go up? Oh, this must have been around forever,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And where I think the people that are going to live in that building are really just going to be central to Coconut Grove. I think it's going to be like a great meetup spot, right? Like, hey, I live in Arbor, come meet me here. We'll go from here to Cocoa Walk, right?
Right.
Like, hey, this is where you come drop off your car and we'll go together, right? Because it's really walkable to everything in Coconut Grove. And that's really what I found intriguing, that it was real. Listen, I don't know any other piece of land that close to Coconut Grove itself, the center of the grove,
Sure.
that you could put new construction, right?
Mm.
Everything else will be a few blocks away today, right?
Right.
There's nothing left to build in the true center of Coconut Grove. And
Right.
that's really what I found again, intriguing about the project.
So tell me a little bit more about the design philosophy and sort of describe it for our listeners and viewers. It's 45 units. I think it was five,
Yeah,
six floors,
yeah.
right? But what's the vibe in there?
Really nice designed units, right? And what I say by nice design, I've always, even my father at the time taught me that one of the most important things in a home that's important is a closet, right? And if you have a big closet, it's sort of a big winner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I walked the building the first time and I saw the size of closets, I was like, I like this building, right? This is something that I know is sellable because wives or women would love a big
Mm-hmm.
closet, right? They have a little corner for the husband and the rest of
Right.
it's for them, right? Um, so I thought that was really unique. But the second thing that was probably the most unique about the building is that almost 50% of the building are townhome units, right?
Oh, I
So
love that.
which is really cool because you get to live in a building, but you really live in a house, right? Your bedroom's upstairs. You got that, so you have a really home feeling. Where a condo is a condo, right? These are all at the end of the day, as nice as a condo can be, it's all one level, right? It's sort of a shotgun kind of thing. You have your
Yep.
bedroom to the left, you have the kitchen to the right, and it's very standard. In a townhome feeling, it's more homey, right? You could be downstairs, you can be entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
and your bedroom is upstairs, right? So there's as much as more of a home feeling, right? You can go up and down, and so that's what I really was. I gravitated to that, right? Because
Mm,
I saw that, like I said, almost 50% of the units were in those designs.
sure.
Um, Secondly, we have, for again, a building of that size, we have a lot of large units. Over 50% are three bedrooms, right? So it was geared more for, I don't want to say family per se, but family living. It wasn't just like for singles, right? It wasn't just a
Sure.
single person to move in there. It was more. It could be for single people, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also designed for family oriented, right? So
Right.
or people that are downsizing, just don't need a big house anymore and
Yep.
want to downsize, but don't want to downsize too much, right? They
Right.
want to be able to have space, right? They want to be able to have a home office or a home theater. They can do it in some of the bigger units, right? We have some 4 bedroom, we have a bunch of 3 bedroom units. So that was what I felt to be good from the residential aspect. Now, from the social aspect of the
Mm-hmm.
building, we did take what was existing and expand it a little bit on it, right? In light of when I took over, I said, okay, because the time changed from the time the project started to the time we took over the project. And I said, we need to add some amenities to the project for the residents to create that more social environment.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, there's a gym like everyone. There's a pool like all buildings. But from there, we added a beautiful social lounge on the ground floor. So if you ever wanted just to have somebody come over and don't want to take them up to your apartment, we created this great little social lounge with a coffee, with a bar, not a bar, but a coffee bar, excuse me, a coffee bar. And so if you wanted to have a meeting or just again hang out with your neighbors, you could do it right there
Mm-hmm.
in the lobby level. In addition to that, we had a multi-purpose room on the pool deck level. Again, the pool deck is enormous, where you can again sit down and have parties. And then multi-purpose room, we changed it a little bit. We added a pool table, a card table, really a room that you can hang out and maybe watch a football game with other neighbors and
Sure.
play with it. And then probably my favorite is up on the roof. We added a rooftop bar. And if you know a mall, mall restaurant, they have a
Mm-hmm.
place called Level Six. I sort of copied that vibe. I wanted to bring that a Level Six vibe to Arbor, where the residents could sit outside any time of the year, a covered rooftop bar, where they can lounge out there and again smoke a cigar if they allow them, or again have a drink with their friends, invite people up there. And because the way the building is designed and situated, it has unobstructed views of all of Coconut Grove, right? You can see Level Six from there, you can see Bellini from there, and you can see all the way to Coral Gables. So you just have a beautiful, and it's a west view, so you have a beautiful west view and great sunsets, right? So that's what's going to be. It's going to probably eventually it's going to be called a sunset roof bar, right? Where you get
Right.
some great sunsets. But again, the purpose of that was to create locations or create spots where the neighbors could or the residents could congregate, get to know each other, hang out in a very casual environment, right? And that was really it. Take away some of the stiffness of it, and that's the other thing. Arbor really, again, the color palette. it's modern. The building is modern, clearly, because it's built
Hmm.
today. But it really, the color palettes are much more tropical, right? We're more in the light beiges and the greens, and not the whites and grays and blacks, right? So we obviously stayed away from that, which again just creates a much more warmer vibe, much more welcoming and inviting vibe. And that was where the design of the building is,
I love it, and it meshes perfectly with the DNA of Coconut Grove.
without
Let's say
question,
I
without
didn't
question,
I wasn't aware of the townhome perspective there. I think that's really neat, and like you said, gives a different sort of option to the end user, a different experience.
without question.
And good for our broker audience to know. So looking ahead, then
They better
our
hurry up. Most of them got sold already.
okay. So let me. So you guys. So
Our townhomes went fast.
yeah.
They
I
did. They
uh,
really surprisingly did.
it makes sense. So, of remaining unit mix, what would you say is out there, and especially for those listening that may have a buyer that might
So we do have,
make
obviously, we
sense?
do have some of the townhome stuff. And again,
Hmm.
the townhomes, some of them are on the ground floor, so you don't
Hmm.
even have to use an elevator to get,
Love
come
that.
into your unit. The other ones are obviously, on a vertical level. But listen, we have a great mix of units
Sure.
available. We have 2 bedroom, we have 3 bedroom, we have them on both sides, meaning facing west, facing
Hmm.
east.
Are
Um,
you seeing a lot of, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, of
like
course.
for your buyers, because we talked earlier, the U.S. sort of rediscovered Miami post pandemic, right? Now
Sure.
you even have Ken Griffin that's bought his residence in the Grove, obviously moving his business down here, but residence in the Grove. Are you seeing that those sort of trends translate to your buyers here? Are they coming from relocating from the U.S.? Are they locals? Are they foreign?
It is truly, again, just like the Grove, a diversified mix,
Mm,
right? So we've had people from Jersey, Massachusetts buying as, whether it's not an investment exactly, as a second home.
sure.
We've had a few buyers that are from downsizing from big
Hmm.
homes. Their kids have moved out. It's time to downsize, but they love their community, so they want to remain in Coconut Grove.
Yeah,
So we've had some of those buyers. Um, we've had some foreign buyers, a
sure,
couple Brazilians, a couple Mexican, a couple, someone from Mexico, someone from Brazil that came to buy,
sure,
have come to buy. So I can't tell you that we've been pigeonholed into a
sure.
particular segment of the market.
I
Um,
guess that's true of Miami.
yeah,
It's never
yeah,
really just one or the
yeah.
other.
We've
It's
had a mix. And what I do find that's interesting overall in Miami, I think there is and this is because of how the ages, meaning the boomer market, or the boomer population to the Gen Z population. Where I am noticing, just again as a trend, is where
uh-huh.
a lot of parents today, they have who have the wherewithal, are looking at buying something for their children, but they're looking at it in two angles. One, to obviously provide something for their children, but really give them that ability to say, "Hey, I got the money today to buy in today's prices, because
Right.
when the time comes, you're just not going to be able to afford it as the way this market is moving."
Mm,
So I am noticing a lot of parents, like I said, looking at it as an investment,
right.
but also something for the future for their children. So I find that's an interesting part of the segment of the market that I don't think many people are looking at or talk about, right?
Yeah.
Which was a little bit eye opening, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't grow up in the generation where my parents said, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a house," right?
Sure.
It was, "Hey, go work and make your money, and then
Right.
you go buy a house," right?
Right.
Well, I'm joking. I mean, yeah. But that's something that I found a little bit
Yeah.
interesting. And I think, and that's across. I don't think that's about Coconut Grove. I think that's
Sure.
even across, Brickell or whatever. So that's something interesting, I think, as a trend in the market that I'm
Hmm.
seeing, right? Um,
And it makes sense because the prices in Miami, while we're still very affordable compared to other leading global cities of the world, have gone up
Correct.
as a result of, let's say, the post pandemic move here, and just sort of people discovering how awesome the city is.
Listen, it's transfer of wealth. There's so
Yeah.
much wealth that has come to Miami today. Look, Miami has been built on hospitality for the past 100 years, right?
Hmm.
So the people that were moving to Miami were looking for work and jobs and stuff. But today, people that are moving to Miami is wealth. It's a different segment. It's what Miami has been. Hold on, for the past 30 years of my career, we've
Hmm.
been building to get to here, to create the necessities for these businesses to move, right? Take a Ken Griffin just as an example. He could never have moved to Miami if we didn't go through the booms and the crashes that we've gone through.
Hmm.
If we didn't build thousands of units here in downtown Miami, there would be nowhere for him to open up an office and to have to staff it and to have his staff live, right? So these things had to happen, right? The what the city itself has done, whether it's roads, highways, schools, these are all things that had to get done prior to again, I'm using poor Ken Griffin. He's getting all the credit here, but for these financial titans to move their businesses down here, they needed it. They needed the restaurant. They needed the art and entertainment. These were things that we had to create and build before that can happen. And now that it's happened, you can see immediately the transfer of wealth and the businesses and the people that are moving down here. And listen, let's be honest, technology has been a big boost, right? The ability to work from home or to work remotely. And I'm not talking about the everyday worker. I'm talking, these executives being able to do that. That was a game changer. That was probably the bigger. What the COVID really did was accelerate that, and the acceleration of that is what really prompted everything happening all in one big swoop here in Miami.
So you mentioned sort of parents buying, let's say, for as an investment now, lock in today's prices for their children.
Right.
Are there other trends or things that you see in the market, whether from a developer standpoint or maybe buyers moving forward that we should take note of?
Well, for buyers, look, today I see this a little bit as a buyer's market just because of nothing bad, right? Just the way the economy is, which is strong. I think, with rates coming down now, it's just even prompting more for buyers to move, to make a move. So I think it's a great time to buy. The market's flat. I mean, flat meaning that, they can come in and buy something today and it's not going to jump up or down, right? So I think it's the right time to buy. That's how I look at the market today. You know, when it's a seller's market or it's a frenzy, people make mistakes in that time because they're thinking, oh my God, I got to buy because who knows where it's going to be tomorrow. But today you can really buy and feel confident in what you're purchasing. I think that the slowdown in the market was great because what happened was nothing, right? The market didn't drop, right? Prices didn't drop. Listen, today I could honestly say Miami's on a very solid footing, right? We are very balanced in development and growth and purchasing. So it's really a great time to buy. As to trends, I don't think there's any particular trend happening that I see. I think it's all happening, right? Meaning that companies and businesses are moving down. I think that I don't think I'm seeing it, but we're seeing businesses and companies moving down. We're seeing the city take that next step of maturity, right? Listen, even after the boom of '04, '05, we built everything. And then when the market crashed, we were so fearful that we would not be able to absorb all these units into the market. And we were mistaken. All the units got absorbed much faster, years faster than what we expected. And I think the same thing now that, we built a lot. We're waiting for a lot of it to get absorbed, which is happening. And, constantly and consistently, things that are being built are being absorbed. So we're in a very even keeled market, right? And I don't see a particular trend. I don't see more of one thing than the other. On a very personal level, I do like infill, right? So I wasn't designed personally to build these humongous projects like my brother and some of these other developers here in Miami. I do lean more into the boutique projects, more of these infill projects, right? The Arbor is a great project for me personally. I love that size. I relate more to those kind of buyers that want to be, in a small building where they can get to know their neighbors and live a home sort of more of a community, a real small community kind of life, right? That's sort of where I am. So I am looking for those kind of projects, whether it's in Coconut Grove or anywhere today in Miami. Those are the kind of projects that I like to build.
So, Isaac, final thoughts on what you are passionate about and excited for in terms of the prospect of tomorrow. What do you want to leave? Or you're like, yeah, be like, whoa.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave our listeners with in terms of, let's say, takeaways? What you're excited about?
Takeaway, sell. No, yeah. First of all, my first takeaway is sell out Arbor.
Right.
I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking, but I'm joking. I think the Grove is already on its path of not past revitalization. Right? It's already a pure growth. I think it's limited in its growth because of just the size and the land opportunities. I think the big thing for the Grove today, the big marker will be as Grand Avenue develops, right? So Grand Avenue to me is probably the newest. It's not the newest; it's been around forever, but I think it's finally ripe for Grand Avenue now to start redeveloping.
Sure.
And I believe I think I read the paper myself. There's a developer, I forgot who, that just submitted for a project, a multifamily project right on Grand Avenue for, again, maybe later you guys can check it out.
Sure.
To the story.
Yeah.
on that. So I think there's definitely some growth to the Grove still. Again, old homes are being torn down, building these these newer luxury homes. But that's where I see the Grove. I don't see it, I don't see it going back down anymore. I think it's here to stay, right? That's why I see the Grove. Arbor again, it's meshed into the community already. It's just, it just needs to be finished, needs to be sold, and Arbor is just going to be one of those kind of projects, right? And Miami as a trend, I think we're in a great place. We're that, like I said to you, we spiked, during the pandemic, or those couple of years now, we spiked like we always do. We had a boom. We flattened out right now, which is a great opportunity, usually when you flatten out and it's time to work, right? That's the best time. If you want me to sell into the broker market, this is the time to take advantage of going out there and really networking and really getting to meet other agents and other brokers and really learning Miami, getting to know the project. When the market's hot, you're just in the middle of making deals all the time, right? So you don't really have the time to get to know anybody, right? It says, hey, I got to buy, I got to sell it, and then you're just, you're in the hustle. Mm-hmm. Now, when it's a little quiet, these are the times that you can really create true relationships, right? Whether again it's agents within the same firm, agents in other firms, and going out there and really meeting all developers, right? The big developers doing the big project, and guys like me that are doing these small infill projects. So I would tell you that today, in this time where it's a little bit quiet, take advantage of the quiet, right? Don't be distraught like, oh, I'm not, there's no deals coming, there's no sales. This is the time to plant your seed, or this is the time to really build those roots that I promise you, based on my age, I can promise you that they're there for you for the next 20, 30 years of your career. These are people that I'm working with today, are people that I've now worked with 10 years ago, that I haven't seen them in 10 years, and they're right back into my life again, right? So really important in these, I'll say, slow times, downtime, to take advantage of that, right? And that would be my biggest advice, right, for agents in the market today. You know,
I like it. I love it. We're going to leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Isaac Kodsi, a developer of Arbor Residences in Coconut Grove. You guys are going to be delivered, I think, Q1 of 2025, correct?
I'm pushing, yes.
Yeah, so make sure to give them a ring. Check out your sales gallery. You have a sales gallery?
We do have a sales office right there on Oak Avenue, right? Okay. Maybe half a block from the project.
Excellent. Yep. I'll pop in, get a presentation. Sandra Massis, that's Rivera Real Estate exclusive sales. Isaac, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Look forward to seeing Arbor come to fruition, future growth of what's remaining there in the Grove, and looking out for your next project. So thank you for coming on the show today. For our listeners, we will be back soon. As always, this is the Miami Real Estate Podcast, your home for expert insight on all things Miami real estate. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And until next time, remember that here in Miami, the future is always bright. Take care, folks.